If we were to trace the course of daily life and civilization in Western Europe after the fall of the Roman Empire, the story would be one of collapse, slow recovery, and eventual renewal. After 476, the disappearance of Roman authority triggered a long decline. Roads fell into disrepair, cities shrank, literacy faded, and long-distance trade nearly vanished. For a brief moment around the year 800, the reign of Charlemagne brought a partial revival of order and learning, but this resurgence proved short-lived. After his empire fractured, instability returned once more. Only around the year 1000 did Western Europe finally begin a sustained recovery. That moment marks the beginning of what historians call the High Middle Ages, a period lasting roughly from 1000 to 1300, during which European society experienced remarkable transformation and growth. By the turn of the millennium, feudalism had taken firm root across much of Europe. Though feudal government lacked the strength and coherence of ancient Rome, it provided something essential that had long been missing: basic stability. Local lords imposed order over their lands, protected peasants from external threats, and maintained enough peace to allow economic life to revive. This fragile stability created the conditions necessary for improvement, especially in agriculture. At the same time, farmers adopted new technologies that dramatically increased productivity. Heavy plows made it possible to cultivate dense northern soils, the horse collar allowed animals to pull more efficiently, and the three-field system maximized land use by rotating crops. Better land management and improved tools led to higher yields. As food supplies expanded, Europe's population began to grow. With growth came surplus, more food than was needed simply to survive, and surplus made exchange possible. Trade, nearly dormant for centuries, slowly reawakened. As agriculture produced more than local communities could consume, the structure of rural life began to shift. Not everyone was needed to farm. Some peasants left the manors altogether, seeking opportunity elsewhere. This movement of people fueled the revival of towns and markets. Trade expanded from local exchanges to long-distance networks connecting distant regions. Contacts with the wider world grew dramatically after 1096 with the launch of the Crusades. Although violent and destructive, the Crusades reconnected Western Europe to the Eastern Mediterranean, the Byzantine Empire, and the Islamic world. Western merchants began trading grain, wool, timber, and metals for valuable luxury goods, spices, silks, fine glassware, perfumes, medicines, and textiles that Europeans could not produce themselves. These exchanges enriched merchants and stimulated further commercial growth. Towns flourished where trade routes converged and where natural defences offered protection. Northern Italy became the heart of this urban revival, benefiting from its proximity to Mediterranean trade. Elsewhere, towns sprang up near rivers, ports, and crossroads. These settlements, often called burgs or bourgs, produced a new social group, the townspeople, or bourgeoisie. Increasingly wealthy and numerous, they would go on to play a decisive role in shaping Europe's economy and politics. With the growth of towns came the rise of new institutions designed to organize economic life, the guilds. Guilds were associations of people engaged in the same occupation, created to regulate commerce and protect their members in a still fragile economy. The earliest were merchant guilds, originally formed so traders could travel together for safety. Over time, these groups grew powerful, setting prices, limiting competition, maintaining trade routes, and often dominating town governments. While their monopolies may seem restrictive today, they provided security and stability at a time when markets were easily disrupted. Craft guilds followed as manufacturing expanded. Each craft, from shoemaking to weaving to masonry, had its own guild. Membership was required to practice a trade legally. These guilds enforced quality standards, controlled prices, regulated production methods, and oversaw training. Skilled labor followed a carefully structured path: first apprenticeship, then journeyman work, and finally mastery. Apprentices lived with a master and learned the basics. Journeymen worked for wages while refining their skills, often traveling from town to town. To become a master, a journeyman had to produce a masterpiece that met strict guild standards. This system maintained high-quality craftsmanship and social stability, but it also limited competition. In times of economic expansion, many journeymen became masters. When growth slowed, however, masters often refused to approve new members, leading to tension between workers and employers. A reminder that even prosperity carried new challenges. Taken together, these developments transformed Western Europe during the High Middle Ages. Agricultural expansion supported population growth, trade revived and expanded, towns re-emerged as centers of economic life, guilds structured labor and commerce, and society grew increasingly specialized. By 1300, Europe bore little resemblance to the fragmented world that emerged after Rome's fall. The foundations had been laid for future changes in government, learning, art, and culture, developments that would eventually culminate in the Renaissance.